What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with another Aha remix. And we're going to listen to a remix of Minor Earth Major Sky, specifically the Ian Pooley's Toothache mix. So Ian Pooley is a name I've come across in my techno rave endeavors, though not all that often, which is further to say I'm into acid techno and harder acid trance and some other genres, gabber and hardcore. Ian Pooley, from what I understand, is mainly in the house, tech house realm, and although I do respect house, and there are some house tracks, especially acid house, but also tech house, which is sort of a synthesis of techno sound, so it has more of a, mechanical or techno-oriented sound, but the tempo and some of the other stylings are more specific to the house genre. It's sort of a combination of those two. Yeah, Ian Pooley is, from what I understand, mainly a tech house producer and DJ, and since I don't follow house all that closely, I think I've seen the name in a few places. Maybe I've heard a remix, because sometimes there'll be like an acid techno record which will have like a remix on it that's in a different genre, so I think maybe that's where I've seen him, but I certainly don't know his work more broadly. And Graham did mention for this mix and another mix of Minor Earth Major Sky, which maybe we'll do next time, that it's very much in the club, like dance floor, like tech/house vein. So in that regard, I have a sense for what we're going to hear here, but of course it's up in the air as to how the vocals will be used, how much of the original tune will have some representation in the sonics, or whether it will basically take maybe the vocals only and then give a lot of other different, synth sounds or tech house sounds. So let's see what it is in practice. This is Aha's Minor Earth Major Sky, and it's Ian Pooley's Toothache mix. My first thought is it sounds a bit tribal house. Big old tension string. Ooh, the hats coming in there was nice. I was like, we're waiting on you, bassline. Jazzy chords. bit of mischief to that synth. A bit acidic too. I don't think it's proper acid, but could be. Hello. So, okay, it is very house to me, which my brain, again, I listen to, generally speaking, a lot faster and more intense and wicked, like acid techno, and even the trance music I listen to tends to have a bit more oomph and pace and drive to it. But I don't... Basically, this sounds very good to me, but it's the kind of track that I would expect to be like in what they call a chill area. At least at rave parties back in the 90s, there'd often be a couple different rooms, you know, one room doing house, or one room doing like trance or techno, a hardcore room, and so on. And then generally speaking, and sometimes like between those areas, there'd be a physical area in the party that would be kind of like a chill out area. And this is the kind of music that would play, where it's like kind of mellow and groovy. You can actually maybe talk a little bit better to other people in the area. So yeah, to me it sounds like less like a, you know, get your feet moving on the dance floor, and more like, hey, let's mellow out here for a bit, you know, let's talk for a bit, you know, talk about what you've heard in some of these different areas. So it sounds kind of like a mellow dance tune to me, and not so much like a club banger, so to speak. Nevertheless, I do enjoy the stylings. Again, a bit tribal house with those like hand drums and the claps. Also, there's a bit of a jazzy feel, some of those like, you know, kind of cooler chords, and then that tension string. You do hear tension strings in some different genres, like trance, techno, house, you know, they can all feature them. But one thing that was very house sounding is the way the kick drum would go to like this reduced state, where it's still there, it's still kicking along, but it's kind of been like neutered or reduced in its like thump, its impact. And then at a measure break, it'll just boom, kick back to the full kick drum. And that's, again, there's a lot of house production where the tune's going along and you get kind of used to that sort of secondary reduced version of the kick drum, and then it'll throw the regular full one back, and it'll like kind of catch everyone off guard. And it's often a moment in like house rooms where like everyone is like, oh, you know, they get up by the speaker and they sort of clamor because it's, you know, like it lulls you to sleep, and then boom, it throws the full kick drum back. And, you know, again, at an event with, you know, a big speaker wall, like that'll suddenly, you know, start hitting you. It's like, oh damn, like you tricked me there. You made me forget about the full kick drum. So there were a couple moments there where it did that. I liked it. That little swanky sax at the end was especially tasty. But yeah, there's basically very little from the original track here. It's like Morton's vocal, which is itself, you know, kind of echoed and used for like atmosphere more than anything. So without that, you know, would you even know this was a remix of the original? I don't think so. But again, you know, as someone who did go to parties where occasionally you'd hear a remix track, like I've heard like, you know, a techno remix of New Order's Blue Monday and so on, and as someone, you know, who grew up in the 80s and heard some of these classic tunes, if you would then hear on a techno dance floor a remix of a classic tune that you also knew, it was a really cool moment, because it's like, oh shit, like, you know, someone remixed this one in techno form. So again, if you were an a-ha fan and you happened to be at a club and they were just playing kind of other random like house tunes, and suddenly you heard that, you'd be like, oh, like that's cool. You know, maybe it's mostly unrelated to the original, but it would likely catch your ear, because it's like, oh, like I know that tune, I like that tune, this is an interesting take on it. So yeah, I enjoy that for what it is. I will also say that synth, which again had a bit of mischief to it more than anything else in the tune, I don't think it was a 303, but it had a slightly more electric / acidic quality to it. That might have been my favorite element, at least up until that final moment with the swanky sax. But yeah, the mischief of that particular element, which admittedly wasn't in the tune for long. It was like, 1 or 2 measures at most, and then it was back out of the track again. But I did enjoy that specifically. In any case, let me know what you think of this remix, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.